So far we've explained that unique values are values in your column that appear just once, and distinct values are all of the values that are within your column without counting them twice, or without counting them more than once if they appear more than once. Okay. And we made an example of the names of those of us in class right now. We said about, okay, let's assume that Mr. Ahmed is logging in on from two devices, his laptop and his phone. So that means we would have two Ahmed names within within the class participant list. Okay, and every other person would appear just once. Now, every other person appearing once, those are your unique values because they appear once. Mr. Ahmed's name is appearing more than once, so that is not unique. Okay. However, we said distinct values is everybody's name, but we count everybody's name just the once. So where we have two Ahmed on the participant list, we are just gonna see him as one. So when we are counting for 4 people, when we are counting, it's four or five of us in class right now. Let me look at the number, because I want this to appear in the recording so that that helps us when we are looking through. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so these are 5 distinct values that we have. Okay, but we said assuming that Mr. Adewale is appearing twice, that would have made 6 normally, but we will not say 6 distinct, we will just say 5 because we are disregarding the fact that Mr. Ahmed appears twice. Okay, that's how distinct values work. Okay, but unique values, everybody that appear once in this list is their name is unique. Okay, so what that then means, now we have Mr. Adeleke who has come into class. What that then means is that if you are asked that within the list we can see now on here, how many unique values do you have and how many distinct values do you have? Okay, and that is me telling you to imagine that we've got 2 Ahmeds here. Okay, so with what we have showing now, if 2 Ahmeds are there, we won't count Ahmed as unique because he's appearing more than once. So the number of these unique values that I would have then would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 unique values because they appear once. But the number of distinct values would be everybody. Okay, it's just I won't be counting Ahmed twice in my distinct value. I'll just count him once. Okay, so the number of distinct value would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 distinct values, but 5 unique values. Okay, so I'm using that because I believe we can relate really well with that. It's small and it's relating to us in class. Okay, now if we go to charts now, how does ChatGPT put it? Okay, and I was asking what's the difference between unique and distinct values in data, okay? And it's telling us that it depends on what context, okay? And context matters actually, that's true, okay? Now, distinct values, these are the different values present in a column, ignoring duplicates, which is what we said before. We are ignoring the duplicates, okay? So, example, if a column contains AB, A, B, A, C, C, D, okay? Look at this. It says the distinct values would be, so it's bringing out, can you see that? A is appearing twice and C is also appearing twice, okay? So all it does, all it has done is brought out only one of the A's. We have only one B. There you go. And only one of the C's as well. We have one D, you know. So the distinct values are 4. Okay. And the unique values here would be those that appear just the once. Okay. And the only values here appearing just once are B and D. Okay, because they are not repeated. I believe that should drive that point home really well. Now, is there anyone who's confused with this particular distinct and unique values? Please let me know. Are we all okay then?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Just a second. Right. And then we said to research on it wasn't just the unique and distinct value. What was the other part of our assignments?
Primary key and foreign key.
Primary key and foreign key. So what have we found out about primary key and foreign key? What was your finding?
And I have a go.
Go on, sir.
Yeah, for me, I just found out that the primary key is the column or columns that contains values that are uniquely identify, each rows in the table. That those values that are uniquely identify, each row in a table. So,
Yeah.
and that's what I find out, and think, and also the foreign key. I just try to see the difference between the two.
Mm.
So, and the primary key, the primary key do not allow two rows to have the same value.
That's right.
While the foreign key allows the, two rows to have the same values.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's what I.
Thank you. What you have brought out is really very true, very unique to what we are looking at. Okay. First, the idea of key. Okay. Key in the context of using it in data, they're very important because it allows connection between your tables. Your tables interact or communicate with each other in your data model through keys. Okay. And we have the primary key and the secondary foreign. I'm always saying secondary. Like, in my subconscious, primary, then the next should be secondary, but it's not secondary. Primary and foreign key. Okay. Now I've opened this table. Ignore this. Just this table is what's unique, important to what I'm about to explain. And the table is product table. It's about our products. You see the first row, the first column, sorry, product ID. And we can see, if we scroll down, it is not repeated. Like you said, sir, it does not, primary key does not allow duplicate values, okay? Because each key, each ID is unique, okay? So we can't have product ID 1 for Chai and 1 for Chang as well. The same way as a customer of maybe Tesco or any of the stores, when you register, you get your customer ID. They give you an ID as a customer, okay? Now, the ID you are given can never be given to another. You can't share ID with someone else. And that is why IDs are unique, to whatever or whoever they are representing, okay? So primary key is the key that is unique and major to a particular table. Okay? It's not repeated within that table. Okay? Product ID. So it's like saying, I am a Nigerian and I'm currently in Nigeria, in Lagos. Whilst I'm in Nigeria, I am primary to the place because that is my origin. That's where I come from. Okay. And that makes me, while I'm on the soil of Nigeria, that makes me a primary key there. That is my my identity. My originality is from there. Okay. That is how primary key works. Okay. So product ID, very unique, to the product table. It's not repeated. That is, an ID cannot be shared by two different items. That would be a misnomer. It would be a mistake that needs to be corrected if we find that, within our data. So if I'm looking at this just to check for data quality, and I see 13 that has been assigned to combo, and I'm also seeing 13 assigned to TOEFL, then that would be a misnomer. It needs to be corrected. Does that make sense to us? Am I still in class? Abi network has taken me out. Oh my goodness.
Yes, you're here. I can hear you.
For a second, I thought I was off. Oh goodness. Does that explanation on primary key, does it make sense to us? Or we need more explanation?
Maybe an example to illustrate it.
Okay. So an example would be, while we are in product table, there's a product called chai. Okay. And for easy identification, we have assigned an ID to it. So anytime I see product ID 1, I know that it is chai I'm talking about. Anytime I see product ID 2, I know it is Chang I'm talking about. Anytime I see product ID 3, it is aniseed syrup I'm talking about, and so on and so forth. And that is why it is important that these product IDs should not be repeated for another. There will be confusion. Okay. It's like you are telling me that product ID 3 is aniseed, and if we find 3 here, product ID 3 is also Chef Anton's Cajun seasoning. That's not right. Okay. And I'm saying if we find that within our dimension table, because this is a dimension table, okay, then we should report to the database engineers to make some corrections if we can make those corrections ourselves. Okay. Now, primary keys are unique to their table. They are not repeated. More example, let's go into customers table. Okay. On the customers table, we also find customer ID. These have been generated in the ways that they have been generated. I'm thinking maybe the first 2 letters of the names here are part of how they generated it, but that's not very important right now. What is important is that all of these are not shared. So AVKey is only unique and used by Alfred Futterkist. Then ANATR is only used by this. Anton as an ID is only used by Antonio, whoever this is. Please mute, and so on and so forth. I can hear a noise. Is someone talking, or we need to mute? Okay, so while we are within the customers table, customer ID is a primary key here. While we are within the products table, product ID is a primary key here. Then we go to employees table. There is also an ID. And while we are within the employees table, employee ID is a primary key here. And that's why you see that it's very unique. It's not repeated. Okay. While you are in orders table, each time you order something, an order ID is generated. If you order like 10 times, 10 different times, each time an order ID is generated. Okay. So on this table, this order ID should be unique as well. Okay. But you see, all of the primary keys, most of the time, you find them, they are really very relevant. I don't want to say that, but I think it's true to some extent. You'll find them a lot within the dimension tables. That is not to say that fact table doesn't have its ID as well. It does as well. Okay. But within the products table, you find just the ID of its own ID being unique. I didn't even realize that we have another ID here. Okay, this is a perfect example of, taking you to what foreign key is then. Okay, now, if you observe, all of the IDs we have here are very unique, meaning that they are not repeated or shared between the products. But when you look at categories ID on this particular table, we are already seeing, 1, I see 1 repeated twice there. I can see 2 repeated like 4 times, or more. So you can see there is repetition of all of these IDs for category. Okay, let's hold that thought for a second. Then if we then go to categories table, right now you are in products table, but category ID is found within this products table. Okay, now we have 2 IDs within this product table right now. We have the product ID and we have the category. Please mute. Can somebody help me to mute? Who is talking? So we have the product ID and we have the category ID. Now the product ID is the primary key on this table because it is unique, to each row. It's unique to each record that you have here. Okay. Let me see if I need to mute someone. Okay. So it is unique. And we call it primary key because it's the unique key here. Now, category ID is no longer unique because you see it's the values there are repeated. Okay. And that's happening because category ID is on a foreign land. It's within the product table. Okay, it's in a foreign land. Where it is right now, it's not where it originated from. Okay, now I'm going to categories table. And can you see, what do we notice? I'll need someone to unmute and tell me. Look at the characteristics of the category ID you see on here, and let's compare it to the characteristics of the category ID you see here. What is different? I'll show this again. Between this column, which is the category ID, while we are in categories table, and the one here, what difference do you notice in terms of
repeat the question, ma?
You said?
Repeat the question, ma. Please.
I should repeat the question.
Please, yeah.
Okay. I'm saying that we have category ID in this table, this products table. Okay. We also have category ID in the categories table. Now, I need you to observe, study this table and the characteristics you see of this category ID while it is here. And then when we go into products table, also study what you see about this category ID here. What's the difference that you notice? This is what we have here for the column. And
I
now,
think,
yeah, go for it.
yes, from my own observation here, from my own little observation, from the category ID, the one you show here, it is not unique because there is repetition of the numbers there. But the
Yeah.
other one, I think, is unique to each row.
Yeah. Thank you. Perfect.
That's
That's a perfect, very perfect explanation. And that is what it is. Okay. So while we are within the categories table, the category ID is behaving, and it's not just behaving, it is a primary key because it is not repeated. It is unique. Okay. 1 is for beverages. 2 is for condiments. 3 is for confections, and so on. We can see that. So, and like the example I made of me being a Nigerian, if I'm in Nigeria, I'm a primary key there. Okay. Now, categories ID is within the categories table. That makes it a primary key here. Just like I would be a primary key if I was in Nigeria. Does that make sense to us? Yeah. Okay. All right. Now, but when we start seeing category ID within another table, like we are seeing category ID within products table now, chances are that the category ID would be repeated. It won't be unique anymore. Okay, and we can see, like Mr. Odelabu rightly said, okay, we can see that it is now not behaving like the primary key that it was behaving like here. Okay, right now it is behaving like a foreigner because it's like it's in a foreign land. Okay, it is not within its natural jurisdiction, so to say. Okay, so its category ID is found within the products table, and now it has to be repeated, and that's because these two products, yeah, these top two products actually belonging to the same category, and the name of that category, if we look at the ID, is number 1. The name of that category is beverages, you see. Okay, so those two products are within the beverages family or category. Okay, so that's how the concept of primary key and foreign key works. Okay, what you need to remember more than anything is that primary keys are not repeated. They are unique within their table. But foreign keys are duplicates most of the time when they are within another table, Let me look at other details and see if we can find, okay. Now, let's look at customer ID. Again, here, customer ID is unique to all of the customers. None of it is repeated. And I know that because I've worked with the data set before a few times, okay? So right now, customer ID, whilst it is within the customers table and it's unique, it's a primary key, okay? But when we get to orders, okay, I see order ID. Order ID is unique to the orders table, okay? Or should be unique to orders table, okay? A bit of confusion might occur because we have two order details and orders table that might need consolidation, but let's just say that all of the other IDs here are unique, okay? They are primary key. This is your primary key because it's within the orders table. But now we have customer ID, okay? And what that is telling me is that, okay, one customer can place many orders, okay? Each order I place is unique. So this will be recorded, will be generated uniquely for each order that I placed, But as a customer, I can place many orders at different times, You know, even at the same time, I may buy something now and forget that I didn't add something else and go back and buy that thing. And that's another order ID that will be generated for that particular order. But it's the same me. So within the orders table, the customer ID would appear once if I bought something only once. But chances are that it would appear more than once. It can appear more than once. But the order ID should not appear more than once. So on the orders table, the order ID is the primary key, while the customer ID is a foreign key. The employee ID is also a foreign key. Can you see? It's repeated. And that's again because one employee can attend to many others, many customers, you know, within the data set. But when we go into employees table, the employee ID is not repeated there. Okay. Employee ID number 1 is Davodio. Number 2 is Fuller. Number 3 is Leveling. Okay. We can't share ID between any of these people. We have to contact HR if that happens. Okay. So while employee ID is a primary key here, if we find it within like the others table, it becomes a foreign key there. So we can see the uniqueness and characteristics of these two different types of keys. Okay. Primary key is unique. It's mostly found within its own table, so to say. Mostly within lookup tables, your dimension, you know, and we use this to form relationship with your fact table. Okay. So like you saw in that Power Pivot that we looked at yesterday, we formed this within Excel yesterday. Okay. So can you see, we saw product ID on the products table. And all I did was I dragged product ID to the product ID that's occurring here within the other details table to form a relationship. So these two can work together within your data model. They can communicate with each other, okay? Because you have joined them using the same. So while product ID is a primary key here, it is a foreign key here. Okay. And there's something important which we'll still talk about more when we get into Power BI. This number 1 and this star that you see. 1 meaning the key we have here that we are joining on here. These are appearing just once, 1. So all the product ID here, you only have single values of each one. None of them is repeated or duplicated. That's what the 1 stands for, okay, which is correct. That's how it should be. So we say this is the one side of your relationship, okay? Whereas the same product ID, when we find it within the other details, is appearing more than once. So product ID 1 is appearing just once here, but the same product ID 1 could appear maybe 2, 3, 4 or more times within these other details, okay? And that's why you have a star here. The star stands for many. And this type of relationship is called many to one or one to many. That is, we are joining the one side of the relationship to the many side of the relationship. And the same goes for, you know, the rest of them as well. Okay, we use other details here, you know. These two can be quite confusing the way that they have used them within this data. Normally, we should consolidate the two if we are doing analysis work, but this is just for explaining relationships. So we'll ignore that because you say other details and others, okay? Now, while the other ID is appearing just once here, where you have the details of the other, it's appearing more than once. So that's why you have star. That is, this is the many side of this particular relationship. And this is the one side of this particular relationship. Again, can you see where the arrow is pointing? So the relationship is, the direction of this relationship is from this flowing into here. So that is one to many. And that is how it is for the rest. We have the shipper here. Now the shipper ID and ship via, they are actually the same. It's just the header, the names that were changed, or we can change them to the same so that there's no confusion, but they are the same. While you are within the shippers table, all of the ID, they are unique there. That's the prime, where we call them primary key. They appear just once. That's one. And when they get here, you can find them more than once, and that's why you have that as many. Okay, one to many is the name of this relationship. Let's not forget that. You know, the same goes for customer. Okay, just very quickly, something came to my mind now, but I think we have actually seen it. I was gonna say that, okay, let's take this, for example, this one to many. Let's look at it more in the context of, let's pick a product ID. Let's say we have product ID 1, okay, which is appearing just once here. Within the other details, because we have other details relationship with that. So I'm going into the other details to check, to look for product ID 1 and see how many times it's actually occurring. Okay, can you see? It's appearing quite a lot of times. That's about 38 times, you know. So within the other details, this product has been ordered like 38 times, is what that is telling us, by different people or by the same person, who knows. But at different times, it has been ordered 38 times. Okay, that is why it is many here on the other details where we are now. That's why we call this one many, because it's appearing on the other details many times, but in the products table, it's appearing just once. If we go into the products table and we decide to filter on the one, on the same, that one, we only find one record. But for the same one, we go into other details and we find 38 records. Okay, so that's how the concept of primary key and foreign key works. And it's really, really important that we understand the two of them, because they are going to be very key to our journey moving forward. We are gradually getting to the juicy part of the work. Okay. And let me see how ChatGPT explains that part, if that can bring even more clarity to it. Okay. Yeah. So this is, I asked you that, what's the difference between primary key and foreign key in data? So the difference between a primary key and a foreign key in data is, one, primary key, which you can shorten to PK, is a unique identifier for each row. And what that means is what we saw here when we filtered products on one, you know, for this row, this one identifies this row. Okay, if we pick another one and we say 2, the 2 identifies, you know, that one. It goes on and on and on like that. The same goes for if we go into customers table and we decide to pick alpha key, the first one or any random one, you know, it must give us just the one row. That's how you know, that is a unique identifier. Identifier is unique. And we remember what we said about unique values, difference between unique values and distinct values when we started this class as well. I think all of them tie into each other. Okay. It ensures uniqueness, no duplicates. So if within your primary key, your primary key column, you are finding duplicates there, then there is need to clean that data properly, to ask questions and make corrections. It cannot have null values. We can't leave it blank. There must be something that identifies that record or that row, you know. So if we're having nulls, it's important that we look for what is missing or ask more questions about what to do, because it's not going to make you may get stuck when you are creating your relationships. Okay. Now, a table have only one primary key, but it can be composite, made of multiple columns. Sometimes, data can be quite, in quotes, complex to work with. Sometimes you don't have the kind of uniqueness that we have within this data set, and you would need to create it yourself. It's not always the best or the most recommended method, but sometimes you just find yourself needing to do it, So that's where this explanation comes to play. Okay, let me carry on actually with the example that they have given. So a table can only have, or it can be composite, made of multiple columns. You can have a case where you need to join two columns together to make it unique enough, so that each row can have something that actually stands them out as an identifier. Okay, don't disturb your head with that part. I want us to get the simple part first. But charts just has to explain everything in depth. Okay, now what is it saying about foreign key here? A reference to the primary key of another table. Let's look at that. It says a reference to the primary key of another table. Okay, if we go into our pivot, okay, and this product ID, while it is here, it's a foreign key. And what that is telling us that this product ID here, which is a foreign key here, is making a reference to the one here. Okay, it's making a reference to the one here. Okay, and what else? Ensure relationship between the tables. Again, like you can see, that's how we are able to create this relationship. If you missed out on how we created this yesterday within Excel, it was recorded and it's been updated. We can check the playlist, which we pinned to the data team page on WhatsApp. So let's check that out. It's quite good and interesting to watch. And if you have further questions about it, let me know so that we can have a repeat of or answer your question in class. Okay. So, and what else? It can have duplicate values and null if relationship allows it. Yes, can have duplicate value. We have seen already we have seen how that plays out. If I go into other details, product ID, we used product ID, didn't we? And we saw that one is duplicated, that is, it appears more than once. Okay, so, and it's saying that sometimes you can actually have null, although it's not the best, but it happens sometimes. A table can have multiple foreign keys. That's true. Remember that when we are in others table, again, let's go back within this. Okay, we have many foreign keys. While this is the only primary key on this others table, customer ID is foreign, employee ID is foreign, ship via is a key, is foreign. Yeah, those are the foreign keys that you have here. Okay. Let's see if we can find more examples. Other details. Only product ID is foreign here. Other ID is all right. I think that's the most table that would give you real multiple foreign keys is your fact table most of the time, because you have most of this table need to make reference to it. In practical sense, this is your fact table where others are recorded, where the business of that organization is recorded. Okay, can you see? Because we have all these foreign keys in there, customer ID, employee ID, ship via is an ID as well. Okay, so because we have all of those there, yeah, a table can have multiple foreign keys. Because we have all of, I was looking for why I brought this up. Because we have all of those keys within this table, all of these multiple foreign keys within this table. That's why these other tables that are linked to it can be linked. Okay, so in this sense now, because the business is recorded here, we can, in quote, we can, easily calculate what profit we made for which year. We can easily calculate how much sales was made, and then we can start to analyze maybe by shipper's name, or by employee, or by customers, or by products, or by product categories. Okay, because there's a communication network, that is going on within the data model. Okay, and very quickly, let's see the last part of that. Example, other stable foreign keys are the customer ID reference from the customer table. Okay, exactly the same thing that we saw practically within our data set is what chart is trying to show us there. And it's brought out the differences between the keys, purpose, uniqueness. What's the purpose? Primary key will uniquely identify a row, while foreign key will link a table using a link to a primary key in another table. Then uniqueness, this is unique, no duplicates. This one can have duplicates. Null values is not allowed in the primary key. It can be allowed in the foreign key. Table limits, one per table, okay? Only one primary key in the table. Can have many foreign keys within a table. Example, customer ID in customer table. Can you see it specified? It says when customer ID is in customer table, that makes it a primary key. But when customer ID is in others table, it becomes a foreign key. Okay. And I'm not going to go into this because of our time. The only other assignment that we haven't touched on, and we may start from there tomorrow, would be fact table and dimension table very quickly. Again, because it's related to the concept that we are on, which is data modeling, so it's related to it all joins everything together in the end, and then we can use all of this knowledge to move into Power BI, because it's like you are doing theory now, and in Power BI, we'll practicalize everything and we can see everything live. But having this prior knowledge, it just makes it all come together for you when we get into Power BI. And I hope we can always come back to make reference in each step that we do in Power BI. I would hopefully remember to drop a link for us to download that Power BI desktop, so that everybody can have it and get their hands dirty, on the go as we move on. Any questions about today's class at all? Anything that is not clear? Let's unmute and talk, please. Any misconception? Has it all gone gray? Or have I confused you in any way? Let me know, please, so that I know what I'm planning for tomorrow. I'm going to stop sharing and stop recording as well.